Well, that was fun. Check it out. Channel must be moving up. We can afford props. 2025's Heart Eyes, a new little horror movie released for the Valentine's season. Let's go. Horror on Valentine's Day has kind of been a thing for a little while, right? They have Valentine. You've got some direct-to-video stuff like Cupid, Bloody Valentine. I mean, there's been some really fun ones. I think it's a fun holiday with couples and people loving going to the horror movies together and jumping and the grabbing and the holding and the sharing of popcorn. I mean, it's a great time to throw a horror movie at people. And I think this film really delivers. Let's talk a little bit about the plot. This is essentially, and I'm going to steal something from the people I saw it with, rom-com slasher. It really is a pretty enjoyable romantic comedy mixed with slasher elements. Basically, your story is, for the last few years, this killer, Heart Eyes, has been taking out couples on Valentine's Day. You kind of get drawn into these two star-crossed, will they, won't they, into each other people that, through a series of unfortunate or fortunate events, find themselves continuing to bounce off each other. Then they get caught up in the killer's crosshairs, and away we go. Let's just talk about the film itself for a little bit before I get into some of the acting and the performances. This is actually a really well-written, fun film. I thought the romantic comedy elements, and this is really going to determine how much you enjoy this film. You either will or will not like the romantic comedy elements. I actually thought they were handled really well. This is a good romantic comedy. Some genuine laugh out loud, kind of chuckle through whole scene moments. The leads are really likable. And as they move into the film, they stick to that rom-com element, which I think helps a lot. The first hour of this film flies by. This is one of the fastest moving frenetic paces to a modern slasher. I've seen maybe just a slasher I've seen in the last couple of decades. I don't know that I've seen one move this fast. Again, you'll either really enjoy that or you won't. Some might argue that you don't have as much time to spend with the characters. I don't think so. I think they do a really good job of weaving those developing stories for these characters, or as they grow, the growth of these characters into the plot that's just moving at this breakneck speed. The kills are actually really enjoyable. The bloodshed here is through the roof. The gore is pretty extensive. I'm assuming there'll probably be an unrated cut when it comes out with even a little bit more. The opening sequence, look, I think one of the goals of a Valentine's slasher is to kind of be that anti-love, but still kind of love, because they know couples are going to come to this, have a good time with it. So they really do go after the hallmark nature of the holiday. It's all commercialized, everybody's burnt out on Romance vibe. And that just makes for a great playground with all the violence and bloodshed. The directing and the writing is just so snappy and so fast moving that when we were I got to the point, I'm like, how much is left of this movie? I checked my watch, I'm like, it can't be more than 15 or 20 minutes. We still have to get to the reveal, the why this is happening. That part of the film, I think, lets it down a little bit. I understand what they went for, and I'm not going to ruin it. Really try to stay away from spoilers here, but I think it was the wrong path. I think if we just stuck to a more traditional killer showdown, some cool gore, and then a reveal, they do go out of their way to try to over-explain what's happening, and I think they were trying to lean a little bit more into the comedy and give a little bit more time for the romantic comedy aspect of it to kind of come to its fruition or what have you. But I just think it lost a little bit in that last 10-15 minutes, but nowhere near a bad ending or leaving the theater disappointed. In fact, I have a couple of guest reviews.
It's very enjoyable, entertaining, and bloody good time.
Movies, go.
Thought it was awesome. Surprises till the end.
Could you be more excited?
Very.
Those photogenic chaps, right? I mean, just great to have them on board. Moving into the performances too, you have Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding are great in this film. They have great chemistry, great delivery. The director, I went through, he hasn't really done much. So I think this is one of his first kind of big pushes. A lot of his stuff is shorts, parts of things, TV. There might be a couple of smaller films in there I was missing, but nothing on this level that's got a wide theatrical release that I could see. I think he really handles this well. The transitioning from gore, horror to romantic comedy tropes and elements. Couple of real surprises in this film too. Not jump scares, moments I did not see coming, where I just in my brain, I'm like, that was really cool. I don't know if I've seen a killer appear delivered in that way before. Like, there's one shot in particular where they show you the killer's there with no musical cue, no jump scare, nothing. They just let you register that. And the character then comes to the realization that the killer's there as well, almost as you're kind of like, wait a second, was that? Oh, it's on. Chaos. I had a blast with this film front to finish. I think this will be a pickup for me, especially if there's a 4K release. I really like to enjoy it. So I'm hoping there's even like a little bit of a gorier, funner version out there. And for everybody who's just on board with like the gore porn of like a Terrifier or what have you, I think this is kind of one of those old school, like you kind of go, or oh man, like when there's a really cool practical effects kill on screen. But then this movie does have the story and the characters and just a moving plot through it that pull you through, as opposed to just moving murder to murder to murder to murder, which can still be a really fun time depending on what you're in the mood for. But I think there's room in the slasher genre for stuff like this. There always has been. And I hope to see more of Hard Eyes. I think they've set it up. I had a couple of conversations after the movie with the friends I saw it with. We had thrown around some ideas for sequels that would really work, be really fun, get a few movies out of this with this format and have a great time. Maybe even bring back people from this film in the following ones, or just branch away completely and have different couples in a different setup, or move into a different holiday. Who knows? You could bring Hard Eyes to something else. He just shows up at the holidays. Now he's pissed about Christmas. I think if you're a horror fan / friend, you're gonna have a great time with this film. I did. Great directing, surprisingly fun script. I think films like this don't get enough love now. Like, you see all the older films in this genre from the 80s and 90s getting these huge releases. People talk about them with reverence. And you have these new slashers really trying to just carve out their own path. Pun intended, this knife joke carving. Whether it's the reviews on IMDb, whatnot, you can see that people are just kind of like, whatever, nice try. Like, it's kind of mid. I don't think so. I think this is a genuinely enjoyable, fun horror film that you can watch with any fan of horror, chuckle along with, cover your eyes if you don't like the gory parts, kind of laugh when you want to laugh. Like I said, I think the leads here did a fantastic job. Olivia Holt is an actress who I haven't followed much of her stuff, but I watched Cloak and Dagger. She was really good in that. She's really good here. Maybe we got ourselves like a new Scream Queen. She could be in a couple of these, have a great time, kill her off in one, bring her back in 10, like figure it out. Anyway, I would give this film on a horror scale, I'm going to give it a solid 8. I think this is actually a top shelf modern slasher. And if I'm just rating it on a film scale, I'll give it a 7, because I understand that the mixture of elements might not be for everybody. If you go into this not wanting a really snappy, sharp dialogue, romantic comedy in your horror, you are not going to be impressed. If you just want to watch couples get hacked and slashed, I think you'll get your fix, but maybe not as much as you wanted. But there's a lot of death in here. I don't even know. The body count's got to be like 15 to 20 people in this movie, which is pretty crazy for an entry into a franchise or a potential franchise. We'll see what the next film of the year brings, but it was a good time, folks. Till next.